response that way. I think this whole thing is ridiculous. I was sitting in a room this morning with 6 people who work for me. Thinking, like, this whole black, like, who cares about black? Do we really care about that anymore? Okay, somebody does on one side of the, on one side of the spectrum, and somebody does on the other. I think the vast majority of this country is. I didn't even realize while I was having this conversation in the room with me, with 3 white people, 3 black people, it didn't even dawn on me to say, well, should I speak? Who cares? I think it's ridiculous, and I think that there are extremes on both ends.
Guy Benson, there are other blacks quoted in this article as saying, oh, gosh, no, please, don't go there. We should be having a conversation about policy, not about skin color. We just honored Martin Luther King, who said, let's not judge by the color of the skin, but by the man's character.
Right, that's exactly right. And I agree with Eric here. It's something that I think hopefully even younger generations, that this is an issue that becomes less and less salient as time passes. Because, look, I understand that there are absolutely some really ugly scars in American history when it comes to racial issues. And so I understand, I especially understood, I think in 2008, the impulse of a lot of African Americans. I could at least try to empathize with that desire to elect a black president. I think that was historic. I think independent of Barack Obama's policies, that was an exciting moment for the country. But now we have a guy who's the incumbent. He's been in office for roughly 3 years. And it's time to judge him based on what he has and has not accomplished. And I was reading that story in the Washington Post, Patti Ann, and I have to say, more than anything else, I just felt dismayed, almost depressed, where you have people making very explicit racial appeals based on race loyalty. I mean, these are terms that mean nothing to me, but I'm reading them in black and white in the Post today, and I'm saying, what is this all about? I mean, even the quote that you just read there, Patti Ann, from Tom Joyner saying, let's not talk about facts. Let's talk about skin color. To me, that is just really unsettling and troubling.
What's at least a little bit hopeful for our future is that 2 guys, me and you, who probably don't agree about a thing about politics, completely agree about this. It's I don't care if he's black or he's white. Let's get the country on track. Everybody should be feeling that way. The fact that I was dismayed is an understatement. When I read that article in the Washington Post, I thought it was I just thought it was ridiculous. It has no place.
I mean, and I quoted Tom Joyner, who reaches 1 in 4 African-American adults on his radio show. But he's not alone. And, I mean, the article goes on about how the people who are criticizing President Obama, the blacks who are criticizing President Obama, are really hearing it from other black supporters who are saying, shut up. And they're saying, don't tell me to shut up. I'm trying to talk about issues.
Well, Al Sharpton is quoted in the article saying, well, we're not telling people who disagree to shut up. We're just telling them, don't make us have to respond to you. Wink, hint.
Well,
it's very odd. Now, Eric,
yeah, don't forget, Sharpton got burned a little bit. By the whole Dinkins thing when he spoke up and he got skewered for it.
Well, but again, this is race shouldn't be a part of this discussion, but it is, and the fact is, we're 3 white people sitting around talking about this. Every single person quoted in the article, and this was also kind of surprising to me, because look, let's on an absolute just like blocking and tackling politics, X's on O's level, President Obama is going to win the black vote overwhelmingly, probably more than 90%, even if Herman Cain is the Republican nominee. So I think what the White House is more concerned about is turnout and enthusiasm, and it shouldn't just be about black turnout enthusiasm. If you look at some of the recent polling out of the Hispanic community, a Gallup poll put the president's approval rating among Hispanics down 30%. Young voters, 18 to 29, who backed him by a more than 2-to-1 margin in 2008. Those numbers have crashed back down to earth, hovering just above the 50% mark. So it's not just one sliver of this community and this country that we should be talking about. I do wonder, though, for whoever the folks were who put together the Washington Post piece and the editors, I read through it twice. I might have missed it, but I did not see one single quote from an African-American voter who doesn't plan to vote for Barack Obama. The only disagreement was among Obama supporters. And look, there are quite a few hundreds of thousands, if not more than 1 million black folks out there, if you read the polls, who don't support this president, and I think that their voices were completely ignored in the Washington Post piece.
Well, they retrofit that article to fit the headline. I mean, to me, because that was missing. I do believe that too bad you're white. It's just. And I am very hopeful that next time, 4 years from now, when you and I are debating what are really important issues, that this isn't one of them, and that articles like that article in the Post was, I just thought it was ridiculous.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think some of what is said in the article is ridiculous, but I think the article is expressing, it's reporting on a genuine phenomenon that's going on.
Although I agree, and Patti Ann, the one thing that I'd also point out in terms of what was omitted from the article, there was almost no discussion of policy whatsoever in the article. Like, for example, the fact that the black unemployment rate is almost double the national average. It's hovering above, I believe, at this point, 16%. That was nowhere to be found. There was no real explanation for why anyone in the black community would feel disenchantment with this president. It was just more of like discussing this whole issue in some sort of vacuum, which to me was even more unseemly. There are reasons why a lot of people, black, white, and everything in between, aren't thrilled with the current president of the United States. And no matter what Tom Joyner or Steve Harvey or anyone else is going to say, skin color, hopefully, I mean, you would wish it would be off the table. Unfortunately, they're now, based on this piece, making it one of their primary arguments for why President Obama deserves to be reelected within that community.
Yeah.
Sad.
We should point out that the White House has nothing to do with this racial loyalty campaign. It's just followers and supporters out there, and that no one in the Obama...
Yeah, not only do they not have anything to do with it, I think that President Obama has done a very, very good job of never making that an issue. It's